Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. Cory alongside Tanner Lipsett, the head coach Tony Ersland, to bring you all the news that's fit to print about Purdue wrestling and what the Big Ten looks like here in early October of 2023. Guys, we teased it before. We can actually go beyond the tease now. We have a Big Ten dual schedule, and shakes out pretty good, Coach.
Yeah, really happy by the initial impressions, I guess, of this schedule. And for the people out there, it could change a bit, not necessarily dates or, things like that or opponents, but the timing, depending on what TV gives us, could change a bit. But yeah, like the initial impressions, there's a really good ebb and flow. Always a lot of challenges in any Big Ten schedule, but I don't feel like, other than, our second weekend where we're on the road against Iowa and Nebraska, there's ample, you get tested, but you got time to recover and get ready to go again. So nothing too overwhelming, I would say, from a scheduling standpoint.
I got to be honest. I don't know if there's anybody happier than me about the schedule, Tony, with the way it shook out and the travel stuff and the way, we get one big trip early going to Iowa, Nebraska, and then we get two short trips to Northwestern and Indiana, and postseason.
There's no doubt. I mean, if you look, and I'll go through it, I guess, a little bit, and maybe just do impressions that way, and you guys give me your thoughts as well. But starting off, single duel on the first weekend, so Big Ten play basically starts that weekend going of February 12th. And our first duel, though, is Sunday the 14th against Rutgers at home. Nice.
January. You meant January.
Yeah, January 14th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said February, didn't I?
Yeah,
that's why you're here.
Yep.
So I'm not hosting Rutgers in February. That's wonderful. Appreciate you keeping me straight.
Here to help.
Thank you. But yeah, so January 14th, Sunday, starting off with Rutgers, a good test, a lot of returning national qualifiers and ranked kids on that team, but still only a single duel. So we're not going to double up. And that should help get us ready for a big test on the road with Iowa on Friday the 19th and then at Nebraska on Sunday the 21st. And that's just a lot of travel. When we talk about your job, right, that might be a deal where we're bussing out and flying back and trying to get the kids home late Sunday night after our duel at Nebraska, 9 hours away. So
that's the
certainly two good teams.
That's the tentative plan. It's, the Big Ten gave us one big trip this year as far as, you look at the whole game of plane, trains, and automobiles. But, we will bus to Iowa City on Thursday, wrestle the Hawkeyes Friday night, most likely. Wake up Saturday, head over to Lincoln, rest, get a workout in, wrestle on Sunday, and then we will try and catch the late flight out of Omaha to get home. So it will be it's a crazy trip. It's long. It's got a lot of moving pieces and parts to it. But if that's going to be the only one, I'll take it that way.
Yeah, and I'm going to pray for an early start time at Nebraska on Sunday, right? I mean, for us to get out Sunday night, make one of the last flights out, like a 1 o'clock start time would be great. But you fear, if it's a TV match and you go later mid-afternoon, we're probably not getting out.
They can mess with us.
That's right. So, again, we're waiting to see what time some of these are based on TV. But, Michigan, Iowa, that's a long road trip, a long weekend with two good opponents. Mm-hmm. And then we come back, and then on January 27th, we're at IU. And so my only gripe, and a lot of teams are doing this, so it's just not us, is the fact that we have 3 road events in a row. Okay. So that's my thing. You like to be at home every other weekend. And so to be gone 2 weeks in a row would be my only complaint on this schedule. But it is just, down the road to IU. So it's not getting on another flight and another long trip like we will the week before. So, we'll take that, as a blessing. And
I will flip that on you, though, Tony. The fact
that
I said I'm going to flip it on you, though, because I think that there is some good to come from it in the fact that we get 3 of our last 4 at home.
No doubt. Yeah, and that's the trade-off. Like I said, we've got 2 weeks where we're not at home at all, And sometimes, just from a fan base standpoint, at least that's how I think of it, you like to be at home every other week if you can.
Sure.
But you're right. We're going to be in the friendly confines of Holloway on the back end of the season, which is a nice reward. So you come off of Indiana there, and then we get a long week because we catch Wisconsin at home on Sunday, February 4. So again, just 2 weekends in a row with just IU on the road, very little travel, and then at home against Wisconsin. That's 2 weeks of not having much travel. And believe me, when you're in the middle of winter in school and those things, I'll take those things. It's easier on the guys, all the way around. So we'll take those 2 weeks where we just have one duel each. And then we get ready for a split weekend where we're going to double up again. And that's at Northwestern on Friday, February 9, but a short trip, right? A couple hours up to Chicago. And then we're back at home on Sunday, the 11th with Minnesota. So a split travel weekend, finish it on the back end at home, which is always nice. And then we come back at the very end on Friday, the 16th of February with Illinois at home. So to your point, at home a lot on the very back end, the last, 3 weekends, we're at least at home for one of those dates. So that's awesome to finish up with a lot of home duels as we make our final preparations for Big Tens.
We made the choice to not schedule the team at Southern Scuffle or at Midlands. And so that will mean that between our duel against Lindenwood on the 3rd and our Big Ten opener against Rutgers on the 14th, that's 11 days to get ready for the start of Big Ten competition. How do you see that as, an advantage, a disadvantage, just a situation? How are you looking at preparing for that?
Well, the coach in me, I could tell you both sides of that coin, how it works and how it hurts. And I think it just simply depends on where you're at as a team. Like, I view it in this way. I love time to prepare. If you give me options to compete more or train more, I go to train. Give me options, to prepare and get guys ready. And so to have time to get back from Christmas and prepare and really get ready for a run over the course of January and February for your biggest matches, right? You have real big seeding implications for the Big Ten championships and then NCAAs. I'll take that preparation time. Now, there's still a great chance we'll have guys, especially at Midlands, right? As injuries occur and maybe guys miss, some matches, we're going to have to make those matches up. And I know we've talked probably at length about how each guy has their own little team and they need an RPI and a win percentage and a coach's rank. And you're always trying to create that, those situations for them. So I do leave it open where it's not on the official team schedule, but I'm certain we'll have guys and probably some starters there as well to make sure our guys are on track for their match count and qualifying for NCAA. So it's tricky, but I do like time to prepare. And if you look too on the back end, we've got 3 weeks before we wrestle at the Big Tens coming off the Big Ten schedule. I like that. I thought it worked out well for us last year. That was the first time, and our group did their best wrestling at the end. So I do like that time to prepare and get the guys ready to make another jump. You can't hold a peak the entire year, but you pick and choose your spots where you want to make your jumps, get sharp so that you perform well, and maybe hold that for a period of time before you try to make your final push and really peak for Big Tens and NCAAs the last 2 weeks of the year.
Cory, he always does a really good job of preempting questions there, and he did it. I was gonna ask him about the tail end and having those 3 weeks, and we did it last year, and so like you said, it did work out really well for a lot of guys last year, and so we'll run that back again with the end of the season. I do also really like, and this is just another fortunate note on the schedule. After the trip home from Nebraska, we will not venture outside of 2 hours away from West Lafayette between January 22nd and February 17th. And I think I for one know that I'm excited about it. I think it's going to provide us with significant training opportunity. I think, when the guys, we don't have to have huge long bus trips or getting on and off of commercial flights or whatever it is. I just think it's better for the guys and for the team and for what we're trying to do on a day-to-day basis.
There's no doubt. And as conferences, conference realignment is very much been out in the forefront as the Big Ten grows and other conferences. Like, that's a big deal. It's always at the front of everyone's mind. Like, okay, we're in the Big Ten now, and they've got to figure out how to travel from the West Coast to the East Coast and what that means for their kids physically, mentally, right, emotionally. And it's a real thing. That's why people worry about it. It's a real thing. And so when we talk about being this close to home, even though there's some travel, man, that's advantageous to us. And we'll take that. It's going to allow our kids to take care of their business at school, right? We talk so much about wrestling, but these guys got class and exams, and we're just coming out of a midterm period here. So, those are real things. And so to help manage that in these ways, I think is a big deal for us. It can't be ignored anyway. I want people out there to know that's a real thing for these young people.
Progressing a little bit, the official start of the 23-24 practice season is coming along quickly. But before we get to that, we're going to take one last opportunity to recharge as a team, to do a little bonding, a little brotherhood, and get away for the weekend.
Yeah, we've been working our tails off on a number of fronts. We talk a lot about recruiting and certainly the team, how we've been working. I mean, it's been a big push for us, and part of the process is making sure you're enjoying each other's company too. We talk a lot about making sure you're more about the process than just the result, and that we're enjoying each other and what we're trying to do and accomplish together as a team. So this weekend, to your point, Friday night, we're going to head up to Coach Vegas, who's got a nice situation to accommodate the team from whether we're playing games, watching movies, or doing whatever we want. He's got a pool. So we're going to hang out and have a great time. And then we'll still find time to get better. Saturday morning, we'll get up and work out as well. But again, just time to get together and enjoy each other. And I think that's huge. You never want to get to the end of this and look back and say, what was this all about? What was it for? And I think this is part of it. And, we, again, back with recruiting, it's been apparent, I think, with everybody the last several weeks when we've had recruits on, they notice how tight the team is, how supportive and how strong of a culture we have. That's come up a lot from the parents and the athletes, the recruits themselves. And, that's something we're proud of. We got a tight team, and then it shows. And this is part of that, not ignoring this aspect of it.
Yeah. I don't know if you've looked much at the weather, Ers, but I don't know if that pool is going to come into play much. And we're going to have to be careful on Friday, make sure we don't get soaked. So
listen, man.
elements of rain that are out there impossible.
Hey, man, it's supposed to be 60 degrees too. So we'll call it a cold plunge, and I will be the guy who's pushing the team into the pool.
Little polar plunge action.
Little polar plunge, get a good soak. There you go. So
I was going to say, Tanner, I mean, there's a very substantial portion of this team that's going to take what you just said as a challenge. It's going to be cold. Yeah, let's go.
If they want to take that as a challenge, I'm here for it. I'll put it on video. It'll be fine.
There you go. I also like
that's right.
Pushing him in. That's an even better plan.
Yeah, and like I said, Vegas got a great, he's got a great setup, right? He's got his video games. He's got Buck Hunter there in his basement. He's got a big movie theater deal with a screen. I mean, he's got a great setup. So I have no doubt that we will have a good time.
He's a child. He's got all his toys.
True.
And you're gonna love every second of it.
Absolutely, we will.
So, this isn't the first time we've done this trip. We did it a couple of years ago. Cory, the workout on Saturday 2 years ago was not for the faint of heart. We went over to the dunes.
Oh yeah.
We went over to the dunes in Michigan City, and the guys ran sand dunes, and I got to be honest, I almost didn't make it to the top walking. Souflon was a little worried about me headed up to the top there. And I don't know if Ersland's hips could have made it.
Yeah, my hips were sore after that day, just going up and down a couple times. We had some guys that were rethinking, their whole plan. You're right. That was a tough one. We had hill sprints to the top. We had hand fighting down on the beach. It kind of resembled beach wrestling, obviously. And then you had Lake Michigan right there in the backdrop. So really cool experience. Just enjoy each other and then get a good workout in because, that's what we do.
Love it.
I suppose we should probably, we've talked schedule, we've talked, some fun, getting ready to, it's not that we ever don't wrestle, but we're getting ready to really wrestle. And so, as Tuesday marks the first official day of practice, who's standing out in the room right now? Who is looking like they're ready for some breakout performances?
Yeah. Well, the one I'd lead off with, right? You can't necessarily say it's a breakout performance, but obviously been impressed with Matt. He's not, he's grabbed the ball and ran with it, so to speak, in terms of, what he accomplished last year. He's not resting on his laurels or feeling good about like, hey, I did this last year and he's satisfied. So I've been really impressed with the way Matt has worked and what he's gotten done, developing other skill sets. Guys have seen him compete a little bit more now. And so he's got some adjustments that have been important to him to make. And he's worked hard and made some nice changes with some of his wrestling. So Matt's one that obviously stands out. But then there's a lot of young guys that I can highlight where I think the important point is we had a lot of young kids, and we've talked about that a number of times, but it's easy to kind of maybe get your head down when you're used to having a ton of success, and then you don't have the success you want in terms of All-American honors or being at the national championships or whatever it is. And these kids have really come back with confidence and a strong work ethic and a belief that I've enjoyed. It makes this group fun to be around because the energy is good. And we talk about having a good time, and they do. Like, it's funny. Coming into practice this morning, these guys push each other in different ways, whether you're competing in the weight room or certainly the wrestling room. But we've got a lot of guys wearing these Oura rings that give you sleep numbers, and they're walking in asking guys what their sleep scores were, right, just to see who's getting to bed and who's sleeping, who had the best sleep of the night.
Who can sleep the most? I can sleep more than you can.
I'm a better sleeper.
Yeah. Who had the best sleep score from last night? So that, but the thing about it, what makes that fun for me as a coach, right? Like, that's influencing behavior. Those are guys pushing each other in really positive ways. Because when you're going to work your tail off, sleep is training. You're recovering to get ready for that next day so you can go again. And so that makes coach feel good. I'll just say that makes me feel good. And so now you talk about, okay, who is this? Like, additions that have been really strong for us that I think have fit in great. Marcos Polanco, transfer, old guy, right? Working on his MBA here now, 5th year. And James Rowley, those guys have fit in really well, continue to build momentum for themselves. And I highlight them just because they're newer to this group. But, man, they've really fit in, and they are pushing the group and adding to it in a lot of positive ways. So I'll highlight those guys. And then, guys who have been here that are looking to make another good crack out. They know what it's all about now. You look at guys like, let's see, Stoney Buell was in there last year. Ben Venadia was in there last year. So, those guys.
Norris.
Norm, thank you. Those guys were all in the lineup and know what it is now. And you can see they've really focused and have worked on some things that are going to help them a lot. So those 3 guys in particular look like they're making big steps forward. Brody Bowman is a guy who has us excited. Last year was the first year, like, he wrestled 5 dates for us and had some success, in the varsity lineup as well. So Brody's a kid that has us excited about what his potential is. And so I really like where Brody's kind of at and what he's thinking. And then you look at some young guys too, like this. It's a great class. Standouts from there, we always say Joey Blaze and Grayson Clark, but not just because of what they did in high school. I'm telling you, they have lived up to the billing in terms of their work ethic. Like those kids are in the room all day, all the time, and have a really singular focus on their goals that I think is great, even for the upperclassmen, to see young guys that hungry and wanting to chase those goals in those ways. That's really, to me, motivating. And I like that. And then you look at, just other guys in that class who add to it with, Orlando Cruz, Delaney Ruhlman, Ashton Jackson, Cole Salome, just to name a few, right?
Like Clark.
Grayson. Yeah. I mean, those guys, man, they've really added to the room, and I think it's elevated everybody. So I'm very excited about this team and what they can be. I think they'll, now I'm telling the team this all the time, but I think they'll be in position to surprise some good people. They'll be in position. They just got to keep, never get complacent and keep up the work that they've put in. But I like this group a lot.
Cool Cole Salome story. Last week, busted his head open in practice, and blood everywhere.
His eyebrow didn't even line up anymore. That was
man.
Great job. She got his eyebrow to line back
broke
up.
His face.
Yeah, he comes. Yeah. So he comes over. He's with Salerno, and I'm sitting there watching practice, and he looks over at me, and he's got, blood's coming down his face. It's on his hand. It's on his arm, and he looks up at me. He's like, "Hey, take a picture." And I'm looking. I'm like, "All right, cool." Start snapping a few iPhone pictures and send them to him. But yeah.
New profile picture right there.
Kids are funny, man.
Yeah. It really is a good group. Like, they just need to keep that belief high because they have the talent. They've been working their tails off. And I always believe, right, like the best way to have confidence is through your preparation. And they've been preparing. We've thrown a lot at those guys. I really believe that you grow as a team, and let's say, here, like it's April to October, is when you get better, because once you get to November through, you're competing a lot. It's hard to get a lot better at certain skills. You're getting ready. You got to taper. You got to take days off. You got to travel. You don't just get to make some of those gains that you do. So we were very intentional about having a very good preseason here. And I thought they made good use of it.
One thing that I think is really interesting, Tony, is you look at the way last year ended, 2 All-Americans, Matt finishing runner-up and what that did for the team score down in Tulsa. And that was great. 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks, at Big Tens, a couple weeks before, you wrestled, 6 freshmen? Like, those two things are both true. You had an insanely inexperienced team going into postseason, and also, 2 guys finished on the podium at nationals. Some of the preseason polls are starting to trickle out, and what everybody knows about Purdue is you've got Matt Ramos and 9 other weight classes, and so I love that your message is, guys, we need to come together. We need to grow as a group. We need to, rely on each other and love on each other and really do this thing together, because we have a shot to really surprise some people. Nobody knows what you are right now beyond 125.
Right. And that's why I tell the team, like, everybody knows Matt Ramos, and they'll look at it as just maybe the Matt Ramos show. But that's why I strongly feel like this team will surprise a lot of people who don't, people who know wrestling, but maybe haven't looked into this deep enough about who this group is and what they're doing. So I have a strong belief for themselves, and we've made sure that they've worked their ever-loving tails off so they can feel confident as well, right? Like, that's what the hard work at the end is about. It's about making sure they know they have the right to feel confident and go out and prove it. So that's what we've worked really hard. And again, I don't want it to be the Matt Ramos show. I don't think Matt wants it to be just the Matt Ramos. Matt wants his teammates to run with him, right? And so that's been more what this is about. And at the same time, making sure Matt doesn't rest on his laurels, and I can assure you he hasn't.
And so much of that is so much easier to do when you've got the good culture in place, when you've got, when you've got a process that you believe in and that your guys believe in, that they're bought in, that they've seen their faith rewarded with results, right? Over the years, year over year, you come here, you're going to get better. You're going to outperform maybe your own expectations, maybe others' expectations for you. And the other thing I love about culture, like your trip to Vegas place, it's something you work on. It's very intentional. This is not happening by accident.
No, I think that was the best thing you just said, was that word intentional. There's not many things that get done by accident, in those terms. Like this, it's not everything we do has a reason. It has a purpose. And that's to create the environment that is good for these young men. That's what this is about. And I mean, twofold, right? It's creating a winning environment, right? Wins happen because of your positive culture. Like, they precede it. Like, the culture comes before the wins. So it serves that, but it also serves, man, when you're done, again, what was this all about? What was that journey about? It can't just be, the old, what we tell people, right? It's the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. If you won, it was good. If you lost, it was bad. It can't just be that. You've got to look at everything else you did along the way. You know what I mean? And then certainly we all love to win. This is how I've chosen to make my living. So I love to win too, as much as anybody, but it's not just we win, we were great. We lose, we were bad. We got to figure some things out along the way from a process standpoint as well.
Yeah, I think we got some guys that are they're excited about being the hunters. They're excited about getting slept on. They're excited about people, not putting them on those ranking boards and so on and so forth. And they're looking for opportunities to go prove people wrong.
Yeah. Yep. And they've been through it now once, right? Like, what it is. And that's always the thing for young people, is knowing what it is, what it's going to take, what it looks like. What do I have to do at this level to have success? And for them, they had to get thrown in the fire a little bit last year and have those experiences. And they came back still hungry, still focused, and still excited. Yep. You got something then, in my opinion. Now you have something, because you didn't put your head down. You didn't let the fire go away. You didn't lose your fight. Those are all signs of losing teams. And that's something that I'm watching. How's this kid respond to, he had a lot of, maybe you got 3-4 tough matches in a row, right? It's possible in the Big Ten you could wrestle a top 10 guy 3-4 weeks in a row, and how do you handle that as a young person? So I was aware of that and watching for it. And like I said, I just didn't see our kids put our head down and go away. And I think they will be served because of it. And they've always had the talent. You look at the resumes of these kids. They have good resumes. James Rowley is a silver medalist in the World Championship as well. He's got pedigree like Matt. You got guys who have been 4-time state champs, multiple state champs, Fargo placers, Fargo runner-ups. There's a lot of really good credentials there. So yeah, it's a good group.
Tony, I do want to ask, we have had a home football game in recruiting 4 out of the last 5 weekends here in beautiful tropical West Lafayette.
Thanks for reminding me.
While we are going to go up, Friday night, Saturday morning for a workout, you will have the rest of the weekend to yourself. And I was wondering if you had any wonderful plans.
Any plans this weekend? Well, I'm lucky this weekend. My parents are coming to see the boys. Like the boys, I have a swimmer. I may or may not have mentioned that I've got a swimmer.
Once or twice.
Swimming this weekend. Yeah, I've got a football player, and we've got football this week. I've got my parents here. We got band. I've never talked about band on here. I've got enough between band, football, swimming, and then just trying to watch college football in general. Maybe an NFL game or two to keep me busy this weekend. I will enjoy every last minute.
You don't want to be watching those Vikings right now, though.
No, thank you. That's why I didn't mention them. I'm going to spare myself the pain and suffering of that. Thank you, Cory. Appreciate you sticking the knife in a little deeper.
I got to take shots at other people because the Packers suck right now too. So
that's right, and it could be worse. We could be the Bears.
There you go.
It's a heck of a division.
Although, hey, I'll tell you what, Devin Schroeder is flying high on his Lions right now.
Oh my goodness, we should probably have Devin on just to talk about them. That people would love that. He's waited his whole life for this.
He better get it while he can too, because they're week to week still.
Yeah, I would say that there's a whole lot of season left to happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Guys, enjoy the region. Enjoy watching that workout, Tanner, because that's going to be hard enough, I think.
Yeah.
And can't wait to hear the stories and hear all about next week's practice. Maybe I'll mosey over to the wrestling room on Tuesday and watch the fur fly a little bit. All right, we'll catch you all down the road. We'll probably take next week off with you guys focusing on training, and then get back together to talk about wrestle offs, which are right around the corner. All right.
Sounds
good.
Thanks, boys. Have a good one.